Do you remember the ASUS ROG Mothership that was launched in 2019? For the ones who don't, it was this gigantic 17-plus-inch display with a detachable keyboard and crazy gaming power. Basically, it was a desktop, a giant laptop, and also a gaming monitor. Now, 3 years later, ASUS has launched a more practical version of the Mothership, and it's one of the cooler devices I've used this year. The ASUS Flow Z13 can be used in a few different ways as a gaming tablet, a desktop, or as a secondary display. And in all these scenarios, it works pretty well, but it's not without caveats. But let's first look at the good things about the Flow Z13 before we move on to things I did not like. To begin with, this device has all the Mothership feels and more. This has this lovely, ruggedy sci-fi look, and what I really love is this little peep window into the motherboard with these RGB lights, which are by the way connected to the RGB lights in the keyboard. Then there is this 120Hz display, which is smooth like butter. Whether it's daily tasks, so watching shows or movies, the display really comes through. It has excellent colors, a peak brightness of 500 nits, and the touch responses are also really fluid. And the movies and shows viewing experience, and for that matter even gaming, especially if you're going headphone-less, is really enhanced by this 2-speaker system that this device has, which is behind the display, which is excellent. The audio is not only loud, it's also very crisp and clear. In the few days that I've been testing the device, I've been using it as my primary workstation. And to be very honest, I've been using a MacBook for such a long time that I'm very used to the gestures and the efficiency in multitasking. And whenever I use or test a Windows device or any other laptop, I'm usually irked because it tends to slow me down. But I was really pleasantly surprised when it came to the Flow. As soon as I had all my logins in place, I had the device set up, I was actually able to start using it very comfortably and at my usual speed with everything that I do on my regular day with my regular laptop. Like I said, I was using this device as my primary workstation, so that means that I had at all times like 20 tabs open with 3 other parallel apps being open, and using this device during all of that while all the app switching was happening or the tab switching was happening was absolutely seamless and smooth. There's also an app called Armory Crate on this device, which is not exclusive to Flow. It comes on several ROG machines. It basically lets you choose between the silent, turbo, performance, and manual modes. All of these are dedicated performance modes which you can choose or customize based on how you want to use the device. While you can customize or personalize your own mode, the device is also smart enough to pick or switch from maybe turbo to silent mode. For instance, if you're just using the device to play music on. Which reminds me that when you're gaming on the device or maybe editing a video, the device does heat up a bit, but the fan is pretty much noiseless. And now, talking about the detachable keyboard, which is also one of my favorite features of the Flow. It's an RGB backlit keyboard with chiclet keys, and I absolutely love it. It has a perfect travel distance and it features N key rollover. What is that? When you're typing and maybe you tap on multiple keys at once. So the response of each of the keys that you type on at once will be registered, and that is especially useful when you're gaming. Besides that, the keyboard has a lot of useful shortcuts, and it comes with this amazing little maneuver which I really like. Which also reminds me, for gaming, you can connect absolutely any controller with this display and use it like a gaming monitor. Works beautifully. And now, time for some minor quibbles. The Flow Z13 also comes with a stylus. It connects very well, very easily with the device, and it works beautifully with the display with no lags whatsoever. I even used it quite a bit when I got the device because everyone knows that stylus or pens are extremely exciting to use. However, in the larger part of the days that I've been testing this device, it has mostly just been lying next to this machine because I was constantly thinking, oh hey, I have the stylus, I should use the stylus, I will use it, I will find a use for it. But I have mostly found that it's just sitting right there next to my machine. And there are two reasons for that. Number one, there's no way that you can magnetically stick it to the machine. There's no cavity on top of the keyboard, maybe nothing. So you have to keep it next to your device. There is one reason why that's happening. Even when you're carrying the device, if you put it in the bag that comes along with the machine, you have to just throw it in the bag. Even when you take the device out of the bag, you have to be very careful that it doesn't just roll out and fall. Incidentally, it does stick to the back of the keyboard, which is not something ASUS has thought of. It's just that it just so happens. The other reason that the stylus is mostly just lying next to the machine is that the function of the stylus is not primary or natural to the Flow Z13. I mean, if you're drawing or doing some creative work which particularly requires the use of a stylus, then yes, it will be great for your usage. Otherwise, the keyboard, or if you have a wireless mouse, that'll just get most of the work done and you wouldn't really require it. You will always have to think about or ask yourself to use the stylus. While ASUS gets all the marks for squeezing the mothership into this amazing practical size with the Flow Z13, it actually does not make a lot of sense if you want to use it as a portable device, and mostly because of the battery. It comes with a 100-watt Type-C fast charger which can fuel up the battery to full in maybe an hour or so. However, the display also runs out of battery in maximum 4 hours if you're using it like a regular desktop, or if you're gaming or editing a video, then maybe even less than that. There are also tiny issues with the UI of this device which I didn't quite like. One of them is that every time you plug in a charger or unplug the charging cable from the display, it goes blank for a second. It switches modes and the screen goes black. Also, if you're running low on battery, you can also start experiencing issues with the keyboard's responsiveness. On low battery, you can also experience issues with switching apps and tabs. Unless you're using the touch or the stylus, you will have issues on low battery. Another thing, the material of the keyboard is gorgeous. It feels really comfortable on the skin. But the texture of the keyboard is such that it attracts a lot of dust and it's not very easier to clean, especially if you have a cat in your house. The hair just sticks and it's very hard to pull each one of them out because when you dust them, it just kind of sticks more to the keyboard instead of dusting off. Another issue that I faced with the device, which was twice, and I was using this display for about a week. When you connect the display with the keyboard, sometimes the RGB on the keyboard does not light up. You can keep adjusting the backlight brightness settings and the light just does not show up. The only way out is that you take the display, you disconnect the display and the keyboard and reattach it, and then it comes back on. Lastly, for a portable device or marketing it like a tablet, this device is actually very heavy. You can't really use it like a regular tablet or like an iPad. You can't walk around and use this tablet. You'll always need to have a place where you can keep the device and then use it. It's really heavy, it will start hurting your hands. You can't hold it in one hand and scroll it like that. The display size is just not meant for that. And now, all of this brings us to the big question whether this device is worth it or not. To be honest, as a gaming tablet, The ASUS Flow Z13 does stand its own when it comes to the display quality, its performance, and the whole ensemble with the backlit RGB keyboard and the stylus that comes along with it. But I also think it's not a good idea to pick the Flow for the purpose of on-the-go gaming, because the battery will disappoint you. However, considering you have 1.9 lakh rupees to shell and you're looking for a powerful alternative to the Apple iPad Pro, on which you can also do some occasional heavy graphic gaming and video editing, then the ASUS Flow Z13 does make a lot of sense. For a more detailed review of this device, head to News9 Live. I'm Nandini Yadav signing off.